Self-worth is knowing that you are not stuck. You don't have to sit anywhere because you are priceless. You are the priceless artifact. They are lucky to have you. Don't let a job, don't let a person, don't let a group come up and make you feel like you're lucky to be there. No, they're lucky to have you. You're listening to I Have Given My Answer with Liz Gillum of E616 Consulting. If you're ready to take part in the conversations that give Black women the comfort, the community, and the confidence to live our lives freely, recognize our true worth, and embrace softness, and I know you are, then you are in the right place. I am your host, and you can join me each week as we talk honestly and authentically, freely, and in our own words. There is no one here to disappoint, no one here to judge, just Black women supporting other Black women. If you are ready for that community, then step into the right place. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to this week's episode of I Have Given My Answer. This is the first episode of the second month of episodes. Like, how are we here already? How did that happen? And thank you all for rocking with me this entire time. You all are just the best listeners that I could have ever imagined. I knew you would be, but I'm happy that I have been able to curate this space where you all feel heard and seen and welcomed in this place. So today we're going to get into self-worth because it's something that's come up, in a couple of conversations that I've had, and I really want to talk about it because I've been dealing with some self-worth issues too lately. So I really want to dig into that space with y'all. But if you're new here, welcome. Welcome to our living room where we just come in and sip lemonade with our sisters and those MBs and those marginalized genders that want to come in here and experience what it is to be a hashtag magical Black one, because that's who we are. We help Black women snatch their lives back from the jaws of those who would keep us in boxes. That's what E616 Consulting is all about, the world of being a magical Black one. Now, last month, we talked about a whole array of things. We talked about boundaries with Sateria, and we learned that we have to take care of ourselves in the ways that help put ourselves first. And then we talked about grief with D, and we understood the power of and that we have to give ourselves space to grieve even when it's not convenient. We can be sad and we can laugh it up. So the power of and is what kind of gets us through those hard times. And then Hanako brought us on home last month talking about the story of love. And she weaved together in this really magical way her experience as a librarian to encourage us to investigate the story of love that has brought us in here to love for ourselves, but also the way we love others and the love we've received. So we've been through it, y'all. And we just started. We have a lot of other guests wrapped up for you for this month that we're getting ready to roll out. We're going to talk about some fun stuff, and we're not done because this week I'm coming for your edges. We're talking about self-worth. Now, a lot of people get self-worth and self-esteem confused, and they're real similar, but we're going to really dig into it, and I'm going to talk about it right now. So self-worth. In 2013, Christina Hibbert described self-worth and self-esteem in separate ways like this. She said, self-esteem is what we think and feel and believe about ourselves. Now, that's important. Don't misunderstand me, but self-worth is recognizing that I am greater than all of those things. It's a deep knowing that I am of value, that I am lovable, necessary to this life, and of incomprehensible worth. You hear that, loved ones? You are worthy. You are greater than what you think, feel, and believe about yourself. You are of value. You are lovable. You are necessary to this life, and you are of incomprehensible worth. That is your self-worth. Doesn't matter what you or anybody else says. Self-worth is inside and it exists at all times. When I talk to youth, when I speak to youth, I talk about authenticity and how authenticity is your one asset. And that's what you got to go for. It doesn't matter what anybody else says, it's what's inside of you and what makes you you that defines what authenticity is for you. So I know you're like, Liz, okay, that's great. You've given me the definitions and all that. But like, how does self worth impact my personal life, my professional life? In case you're new here, everything that happens to Black women and non binaries and marginalized genders impacts our personal and professional lives. And knowing that you are worth more than even you believe from day to day is what's going to get us over that hump of imposter syndrome that we talked about last month. Knowing that you're worthy and lovable regardless of what you or anybody else thinks, just for existing, that's the real flex. Like realizing that you are the party, you walk into the room and you show up just by being there. Even if you're in the room by yourself, that's the real flex. Self-esteem is great. Knowing that you're wonderful is huge. Knowing that you're the bomb, knowing that you're the best at what you do is wonderful. But when you can understand that you are worthy of love and all of the good stuff, even when you don't feel like you are, I'm telling you, that's the real flex. So let's talk about how all of that kind of goes along with what we talked about last month. Because at my core, I'm a teacher and I'm going to take you back and show you the thread that brings it all together. So when we talk about self-worth and grief, we can talk about grieving relationships that are no longer where they were in our lives. It doesn't have to mean somebody who has passed, but it could be a friendship, a relationship, a job that is no longer with you or where it needs to be. And self-worth is still showing up and saying to yourself that I am worth every good thing, even if this person, job, relationship, friend that I love so deeply is no longer here. And in terms of boundaries, like I can say I deserve to be good to myself, even if this person who has harmed me is gone and will never be able to apologize. Sometimes we got to get into it and realize that we're not going to get that apology that we think we need to heal. And that's got to be okay. And you got to know that you're still worth it without that apology. And then we got to get into the fact that self-worth isn't about just the words self-worth, but it really, the worth of self-worth, if you will, really relies in the even if. It's what comes after self-worth, because sometimes the words aren't enough. I am the shit even if I don't feel like it today. I am the shit even if I was late to work today and my boss got on me about it. I'm doing great even if I yelled at my kid today and I really didn't want to. I am great even if my spouse decided this wasn't where they wanted to be. Self-worth is all about knowing what's inside of you regardless of what's going on out there. And self-worth and self-love show up in really you knowing that, yeah, I have the final say in what I know to be true about myself. But also sometimes I have bad brain days. And I know we all do. And so the word that describes my worth can't always end with me. It has to be more than I know to be true just because I exist. I may not always feel like this shit, but I am simply because I exist. That's where self-worth comes in. So what does that look like in practice? Like, it's all good for me to sit here, and I know it's easier said than done because I have bad brain days. And some of y'all out there are the ones I reach out to when I'm having those days. And I'm like, man, I can't believe it. Even yesterday, my email list got an email. Y'all, I left off the first letter of the first word of the subject line. I saw that thing and I just about wanted to melt into the floor. Not me telling my clients everything doesn't have to be perfect. Not my coaches telling me everything doesn't have to be perfect. But yet when I mess up, I feel like everyone's going to look at me crazy. Self-worth is knowing that even when you make a mistake, like humans do, you're still the shit. And it encourages you to do better next time. So in practice, self-worth looks like carrying yourself in a way that is sure, even if you're not feeling it. It's being kind enough to remind yourself that, you know, I really may not be into it today, but tomorrow is another day. In an hour, I'll have another hour. the next minute, the next second. Those are all chances to start over. And it's reminding yourself of the goodness of that and the goodness of time and the expansiveness of time and how you can do things over again. And that's not the arrogance of saying, I'll just do it, I'll put it off until tomorrow, but it is the significance, the cushion that you can give yourself to remind yourself that if you didn't get it right this first time, you can try again later. Self-worth is knowing that you are worthy regardless. That's so important. It's doing the work that you do at your jobs for the wages that they require. And I'm going to tell you what I mean by that, because sometimes y'all be like, this job don't pay me enough. And that's true. That's true. I feel you. I hear you. Let me tell you though, one of my coaches always says, you may not be paid your worth, but you can be paid your rate. Especially for those of us who are self-employed, like we're priceless. And those of you who are employed and working for others, and you got your benefits and everything that's real great and real gravy when you're working for somebody else, like all of us are priceless. It ain't a dollar amount out there that can really speak to who we are and what we bring at the table, period. That's self-worth. But being sure of myself means knowing that I can at least be paid a fee that is commensurate with what I bring to this table. And if this company, this person, this group can't meet that, then we need to come to some kind of other understanding of how to meet what I need, or I need to find another table. There will always be more tables. Did you hear me? There will always be more tables. People always need to eat, and there will always be somebody serving. Self-worth is knowing that you are not stuck. You don't have to sit anywhere because you are priceless. You are the priceless artifact. They are lucky to have you. Don't let a job, don't let a person, don't let a group come up and make you feel like you're lucky to be there. No, they're lucky to have you. It's 100 members in a group, 100 employees at a job, but it's only one you. And they hired you because they saw something in you that was priceless that they couldn't get from somebody else. If they want to act funny, you can go somewhere else with it. Self-worth is knowing that. Self-esteem is believing in yourself. Self-worth is knowing that you are great and priceless and worthy even more than you believe. So listen. When we talk about self-worth, that also assures us that we are taking the time to rest and to look at ourselves and to care for ourselves. The first part of my render framework, the render framework is a framework that I use when I am teaching in trainings and when I'm working with my individual clients. And I'm going to do a training on that soon so that you all can understand the power of it, because it really has been meaningful to those who have learned from it. But the first part of render is rest. I can't even tell you what the rest of the words are unless we are clear on why rest is so important. We cannot go where we need to go, be clear about where we are without rest. You need to give your brain time to stop. We need to give our bodies time to repair themselves. We deserve rest. Rest is not a reward. We don't have to be working all the time. I'm in between some deadlines now with my own job. And my best friends have really been like, listen, you need to stop, take a step back. And I almost cried. So when I'm telling you all this stuff, I'm telling myself too, but I almost cried because I was like, I gotta work. If I don't do it, nobody else will. And they were like, what you're going to do is run yourself into a wall and then nobody can do anything. And they got me right together. You have to rest. And it doesn't mean stopping altogether. It might mean putting down that thing you have been obsessing over and trying something else. It might mean stepping away from your desk to take a walk. I went and bought plants today. I do not know how to care for plants. I have just taken on another hobby. I did not mean to do that, but we have plants. So there it is. But I was able to take a step back from work. And then when I came back, I put on some lipstick, I wrap my hair up, I got on a new shirt, and I'm ready to roll. So sometimes it just means taking a step back, just a few minutes to step back. So let's back it up to the render framework because I know y'all are curious. Like, well, she keeps talking about this framework, but what is it? So the render framework, the steps of that are rest, evaluate, notice, decline, empower, and then we round it out with reclaim. So that's your teaser. That's all you get for free this week. The render framework is something that I'm really proud of and I'm really excited to share with you all. And rest is just so important, and I have a hard time with it myself, but I believe in it and I understand the restorative properties of rest. And if we don't rest and if we don't listen to ourselves and if we are constantly pinning our self-worth to what others say about us as well as our own self-esteem, what we say about us, then we really risk some difficult times. We really risk running into just burnout because we're not stopping to remember that we are the shit. And this part, rarely do I say this, but this goes for anybody. Just this little snippet. I'm gonna close it off in a second, but this little snippet here goes for anybody who might be listening. But like, if you're not taking the time to rest and to remind yourself that you are everything outside of what you say, outside what anybody else says, you're gonna burn yourself out because you're never going to feel like you have reached that summit. Now, back to Black women and non-binaries and marginalized genders. Hey, y'all. Burnout and chronic stress. Let me tell you how I know. I am 39 and a half, almost, and a half, with high blood pressure. Burnout and chronic stress will do those things to you. Physical health problems come from burnout. Constantly being on the edge of burnout. That is not the fun kind of edging. Don't do that. That is not what you need in your life. Okay. So physical health problems, you're talking about headaches, high blood pressure. I had migraines in high school. Like, that's absurd. Heart disease, digestive problems. And then on the flip side, you got chronic fatigue because you stay tired because your brain is always going. And when you're exhausted, then your physical health issues are just heightened. But not only that, you're tired, so you're not firing on all cylinders. Your work isn't as good as it could be. It's a whole cycle, Sib. Nobody needs that. Then we move into mental health problems because then you got depression and anxiety. I'm on anxiety med. You got PTSD. We're already at higher risk for these conditions because of everything that society is throwing at us. So we're adding our own stress to that. We don't need to take the master's tools and tear our own house down. Let's chill out. If they're going to put all this stuff on us that's going to make us feel like we're stressed out, then let's chill out. Let's do our part to calm down. Okay? Decreased work performance. I know we don't want to hear that because we work and we're good at what we do. But, oh, my cat, rude. We're good at what we do. But burnout can lead to decreased work performance, which then leads to big old financial and professional consequences for us. And don't nobody have no time for that, which then leads to guilt, shame, and inadequacy. Once we're in these places of guilt, shame, and inadequacy, then we isolate. So now we got chronic stress and burnout leading to social isolation. And then we're dealing with more burnout and more sadness because then we feel like don't nobody want to talk to us and we don't feel like we're worthy because we're isolating ourselves and we're in that cycle, which then culminates in this quality of life reduction that just plain out sucks. Physical health, impacted. Mental health, impacted. Work performance, impacted. Social connections, you guessed it, impacted. All of that because we are not stopping to rest in the knowing, the knowledge that we are the shit, regardless of what we or anybody else says. That's self-worth. That's knowing that you are priceless, but you can still stand up for what you demand. No one or very few people rather, are going to be able to stand up to what you deserve. But you can at least say, okay, if you can't meet me there, then I need you to at least get me here. That's not settling. That is meeting. So that's a charity. That is a kindness. I am certainly not saying you will do all of the work and that person will do nothing. That is insanity. But if you are at a job, you enjoy that job, and they cannot pay you everything that you are asking for, then you can decrease your hours or you can ask for a raise. If you are in a relationship and you would like to go back to school and you are a partner, you are in a partnership, you can say, I need to go back to school. Let's meet halfway. Let's discuss childcare. There are things that you can do to get what you are worth, regardless of your self-esteem. You are worth these things just because you exist. I promise. And if I ever meet you in person, I'm going to tell you just that because I love you. And I want to hug you and tell you that you are worth all of the good things. Now, I know I've said all this stuff about how we can take care of burnout and what we can do for burnout, but I am not so naive, and I don't want you to be either, in not realizing that burnout and chronic stress, baby, those come from a whole lot of issues surrounding us. Racism, sexism, all of that stuff that's around us is happening all the time. We are combating that at all times. And so that's what I said a little bit earlier. Like, we don't need to let the master's tools get in our hands and tear the house down. We need to be resting. Let's go back to Mother Audre Lorde. Rest is a revolutionary act. We need to go back and rest so that when those other things like sexism, racism, and all the other systemic issues come to tear us down, we have something in the tank. And any other form of discrimination. We need to know that it doesn't matter what they say about me because I'm Black. It doesn't matter what they say about me because I'm a woman. It doesn't matter what they say about me because I'm trans. It doesn't matter what they say about me because I'm queer. I know that I am the shit. I am not saying those things will not bother you, but they will not knock you into a pit of despair from which you will never return. Because you have that sense of self-worth that knows that. Creating more supportive environments to help combat that is a huge way of getting through that. That is one reason I created this podcast, this community, so that we can have that space where we can all exist in ways that uplift us. It is my dream to uplift as many Black women, non-binary people, and marginalized genders to remind you all that you are the shit. And I want you to know that even more than you hear me saying it. Your self-worth has got to be more than what I'm saying to you too. So since we can't dismantle these garbage systems by ourselves, no matter how badly we want to, we have no choice but to take care of ourselves. You deserve that. I promise you. I don't know what anybody else has told you, and I don't care what they have told you. You deserve rest. Your self-worth is so important. Knowing that you are worth everything you want is just this magnificent thing that you deserve to know. And I am proud of you. I love you. And I think you are magnificently wonderful. Whether I've met you or not, please know that I believe that in my heart. Everyone is busy. You feel me? Everyone is busy. I'm busy. I've given myself some more time off, but I am busy between my work and my job and doing all the other things that I do. I am still trying to find time to be myself, to be a person, to be a friend to myself. I'm finding time to go back out with friends. I'm finding time to do things. And a part of that is my self-worth in knowing that, hey, even if I am not 24/7 working or 24/7 partnering or 24/7 momming, if I am just existing, if I want to go out with friends that is not surrounded, the conversation is not about work, that's okay. So I'm working on self-worth issues too, because for so long, and a part of that imposter syndrome that we talked about last month is knowing that we don't have to work twice as hard to get half of what they've got. We are the shit. We are all that in a bag of chips. We talked about that last week. I sang it to you. I know I was there. But we are all that. And I have to remember that. You are doing good work. Wherever you are, whatever you do, however long you do it, however long you've been doing it, you are amazing. You are doing amazing work. I want to invite you to the My Time, My Way challenge. I know I talked about it a little bit at the top of the episode, but I want to go into it a little bit more because if you are feeling like, Liz, I'm so busy, I don't have time to do anything else but exist in this space where I am the one everybody depends on, then baby, we need to stop. We need to look at those responsibilities and things that we all have that require our time. And I want you to think about what it would look like if you put yourself first. I know so many times people ask me, who are you? And it takes me so long to get to I'm a person. My answer is usually, I'm Liz. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. I'm a sister. I'm a daughter. I'm a friend. It takes me 5 or 6 titles before I can get to I'm a person. And I want to help you find that space where you can say that first. So this challenge is here to get you to the point where you do say that first without having to make radical changes to the lives of those around you. Unless they in the way. We'll talk about that. Because if they in the way, then we're going to help you get rid of them. We just going to talk about that later. So details. Let's talk about it. So the upcoming challenge is March 20th through the 24th. It's from 12 to 1 Eastern Standard Time. So it's a little bit of a lunch rendezvous, if you will, with a little less steam. It's not going to be all that steamy. It's from 11:30 to 1 if you are Prestige or Lux. So it'll be 5 days of live trainings with me. And we'll get into the shield structure that I teach. Now, I am not going to go into shield today. Y'all got render for free. You have to come to the challenge to get shield. But in terms of the lives of Black women, MBs, and mages, let's remember that so often we forget who we are because we're serving everyone else. And so many coaches and gurus want you to make these radical life changes that aren't always possible if you have children or if you work a demanding 9 to 5 or if you're in a less than fulfilling marriage that requires you to be 15 different people at once. So many challenges are steeped in privilege. And that is what we are here to remind you, that you are the privilege. And I want to help you tap into that. So the challenge is free. If you want to go to Prestige or Lux, it's available to you. There are goodies up there. It is by no means required. You will still get goodness if you are at the essential level. It is a free challenge because self-care and all of that is important to all. I firmly believe that. So sign up at e616consulting.com/challenge. The challenge again starts on March 20th. Go ahead and register. If you have questions, let us know. The link is going to be in the show notes wherever you're listening. Speaking of show notes, wherever you are listening, give us a like, rate us, review us, all of that stuff. Because every time you do that, it helps us to go further and further and reach more people who need to hear this. So listen, here is my ice cube. Y'all have been here long enough to know what an ice cube is. It's a little nugget that our speakers or me can give for you to chew on or for you to, sit with for a little bit. But this week, I want you to take 5 minutes total, not daily, but total, and put yourself first. That's less than a minute a day. So I know you can do it. I know you're thinking that doesn't sound like a lot, but once you get into the habit, you'll see how tough it is to do at first, because you got to find that minute and you got to commit to that time. And everything's going to be jumping at you, trying to get your attention. But this is your time to jump in and say, I need 1 minute. And then my guess is that by Wednesday or Thursday, it'll be hard to stop at just 1. You will have to start forcing people to honor it once you make that commitment to yourself. And that's what we're working toward. That's what we're working up to. All right. So 5 minutes total this week until you can force other people to honor that space that you have created for yourself. The second thing I need you to do, register for the challenge, baby. I want to see you. I want to teach you. I want to love you. I want to be there for you. I want to be there with you. I want you to feel this freedom that I feel, because I don't do nothing I don't want to do. That's it. And I want you to have that same freedom too. All right. So that's it for me this week. Thank you for listening. Next week, And the weeks after that, we'll have some other friends of mine come out to talk about all kind of stuff. This week, we're talking about what to do when someone says you're too much. We're talking about African spirituality. We're talking about raising kids in this crazy time. We're talking about being whole women in terms of teaching, but also being sensual, but also being parents. Like, we finna get really into it, y'all. So listen, I'll see y'all next week. Let's talk about it. Hear back from you and me. Let's go into the Facebook group. Let's have those conversations there where we really get deep into what we're feeling, thinking, and saying, and what we're not saying. And let's be heard. All right? Enough is a complete sentence. I have given my answer, y'all. Bye. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of I Have Given My Answer. This week's episode was produced by Oz Longworth Jr. of Longworth Media Solutions. We hope that you've been reminded that you are enough. Be sure to come back next week where we'll have another conversation to remind you just how wonderful you are. We here at E616 Consulting keep Black women grounded in love through community, comfort, and confidence. We can't do that without you. We can't wait to hear how this episode touched you because we know it moved our souls. Sis, you are enough, and we love you for it.